Everybody, this is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC, and we talk about, we look at the Tao Te Ching as an oracle here on Tao of the Day. What we do is I invite you up, and we'll just chat about what's going on in your life, get a baseline, and then I'll ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81. That number is going to coincide with a chapter or verse of the Tao Te Ching, because there are 81 of these forms of these 81 Tao texts. Each of them have a title, and none of them are over 250 words, so fairly short. It can take maybe a minute and a half to read the whole thing. And then we'll start breaking it apart. We'll see what resonated most with you, if it's aligned with the baseline that we created and that we talked about. And then we'll just start breaking it apart. We'll go through it line by line. Maybe we might, focus on a certain section. And the whole idea is that we get a new perspective on living life in a more reasonable way. You see, our lives, as we live them and as we experience life, we experience it through our mind. We experience it through like what we're focused on. And so each and every one of us has a frame of reference that we build the world around, and how we understand where we fit, how we understand how it works. And when I'm dealing with something in my life, it often is because the thing that I'm dealing with might be difficult because of the frame of reference that I have. Not because it itself is difficult. It's because I'm looking at it from a certain perspective. And because I had expectations for things to be different, possibly because it just turned out in a way that I didn't want it to, or it is threatening my security, or it's doing all these sorts of things. And when we're children, we often pick up things that are, for the most part, innocuous. Like if somebody else were to have that experience and have a greater awareness than we did as children, then they might not even remember that. It's oftentimes that we experience our parents in a certain way, but our parents don't even remember the thing that we are so traumatized by, or that we dictated our entire life frame of reference because of something our parents may have said, done, a teacher may have said or done, like a peer may have said or done, and they don't remember it at all. So it's not really that important, but it is to us. And so what's most important is that we understand that we're all stepping into our world with some sort of frame of reference. And that frame of reference is a filter through which we see everything. So when we see something, someone doing something, something happening, something coming down the pipe, as it were, what happens is we start to impart that filter. We use that filter. And that can start to stir fear. That can start to stir dis-ease. It can start to serve all sorts of things within us. And what the Tao does, what the Tao Te Ching says is, hey, check yourself. Essentially check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Like it says, hey, be fluid. Don't have these expectations going into it. This means don't have this frame of reference. Don't see the world from your frame of reference. First thing we have to do in order to rid ourselves of frame of reference is first get to know what the frame of references are that we're carrying. If we can identify the frame of reference, then we can start to identify all the places that frame of reference is being referenced. And every time I reference it, every time I lean on it, every time I'm hurt by it, I can utilize that as a starting point to just add awareness to the life that I'm living. And as we add awareness, there is this, there's just this opening up of who we are. And then we're like, we can allow someone else to do what they need to do even if what they're doing scares us. Because very often that's what happens. Like someone's doing something and it scares us. It scares us because we might think that we're going to be affected by it. We don't have to be, right? We can surrender to what other people want to do without submitting to their request. We don't have to submit to them. We can surrender to them. And yes, sometimes like you don't have to, you can surrender to the fact that you're getting pulled over by the cops, but you don't necessarily have to submit to that. Now, what does that mean in the end? You may very well die in the pursuit of that, but death is just another part of life. So if that's what it is, if that's what you're being called to do, if you're going to run rather than stop, I mean, it's easy to stop and you do stuff, but if you don't want to, and if that's something that you're not going to do, then you can run. Again, that's going to unfold as it does. But again, this is about not resisting anything, right? You can't be afraid of death, just like you can't be afraid of, just like a little kid shouldn't be afraid of their mom. Their mom loves them. But you might build fear around being left out of the group. You might build fear around not being loved. You might build fear. And all of those fears put you in a position to want to live under the influence because you're like, oh, well, if I don't do this, if I'm not a nice kid, if I'm not a good boy, if I'm not this or that, well, then that could lead you to a place where it's like you're easily manipulated. And then we're not happy. We ultimately live our lives for other people and without any autonomy, without our own ability to be strong within ourselves. So, today before I started, I randomly chose 63, and I like this one. This is it's entitled "Problems Are No Problem." And that's a big deal because we often think problems are problems, right? We often think, oh my God, this is a problem. Like we gotta, like I remember, talking to Susan and she was just like, I got all these problems for Thanksgiving. I have people coming over and I gotta clean and I gotta cook and I gotta do all these things. And it's just like, well, okay, but you don't, right? Like it was the problem wasn't that things had to be done. The problem was that you put it on yourself that they had to be done. And all you got to do is remove that and the problem goes away. What this states, the text for number 63, problems are no problem. It says, be still and you will act without doing. And I'm going to just read and speak at the same time. So I'm not going to read the whole thing through. I've read it through, and if you go to my website and search hashtag 63, you'll be able to find recordings of me talking with other people about 63. And you can also go to my website, martinjohn.com/Tao, T-A-O, and you can read along with me if you'd like. You can take that little slider, bring it over until it's 63, or pick a random one for yourself. So be still and you will act without doing. What that means, in my experience, what that means is that if you are still, without even almost recognizing that you are transitioning into movement, you will be doing something. I often find myself like, if I'm sitting still and I'm just like looking out the window, at some point I will have transitioned into either going on a walk or doing the dishes or cleaning or fixing or remembering that I got to do something, and then that thing starts to get done, right? And I start moving into the state of doing something. So I'm acting, But I'm not doing. I'm not like, oh, I have an outcome that I'm looking for. Actually, when I sit down, I have no outcome. I'm not sitting here going, oh, I need to do brr, 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 brr. Right? What next? What next? What next? I had a friend of mine that would always say that, like, what's next? Or what are we going to do? And before we hung out, they're like, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. They're like, no, you don't. And I don't either. And that's okay. Maybe we'll hang out for 15 minutes and I'll head home. And that's okay. Be still and you will act without doing. Things will just come. Things will happen. You will do something eventually. You're not going to sit there quietly for 6 hours. I mean, you may be able to do that. But you're going to be called to do something else. Life is going to impose itself on you at some point. I know this whole idea of like we need to impose ourselves on life is a really, really prevalent idea. Like if you don't have a plan, you're going to go nowhere. And I don't believe that for 1 second, especially now that the Spirit is really being awoken in ways that it hasn't been before. And we are all being inspired to do. I think that there's a sign in the universe right now that everyone is escaping. You know, the fact that everyone is on social media, the fact that people are, using AI to create, the fact that people are going to get sick of that real quick. And people are going to want real connection. Because the thing is all of these things are falling flat, right? Because now everyone can do the same thing as everyone else and it isn't special. But you are. And you're going to constantly come to that. So if you can sit still, if you can be still, you can just sit. And today is a great day to do that, right? Christmas Eve. Tomorrow is Christmas, right? And so everybody, right? So there is a vibration around the world that is crescendoing. If you can be still with yourself over the next day, you can allow yourself to be present and just kind of sit with yourself. Allow yourself to look at where you're at. Look at what's behind you. Look at the fact that we're coming into a new year. Don't fear it. Don't be afraid. Don't be anxious. Be present. And just wait. Because eventually, you're going to get up and you're going to do something. Even if you do that because you're anxious about sitting still. But you're going to know what to do. I like this day. As we head into a new year, we allow ourselves to be present. We allow ourselves to be still, and you will act without doing. So be still and you will act without doing. You don't have to do anything. Yeah, okay. You may have a lot to do. You may be going to midnight mass. You may have to have dinner. You may have to have this. You're going to have people over and da, 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 da. But all of that stuff is going to happen. No one's going to come to your house and complain that maybe they will. But you don't have to take that to heart. And just they're going to complain anyway. No matter how much you got done, they would have probably complained. Take a minute, take a moment even, and just take a breath. Be still. And you don't have to have all these expectations of yourself and others today. This is a time that it's not about the stuff. Because if it is about the stuff, it is about the clean house. If it is about the food, if it is about, then it's shallow. And if you can be still, you will be guided to what needs to be done. And I love a good checklist, but sometimes there are things that aren't on that checklist. And I think being still is often a thing that isn't on a checklist. But if you have a checklist today, maybe it could be beneficial to put on that checklist find 5 minutes to be quiet or to be still. Melissa's calling. I'm so happy to see Melissa. You're in Florida, is that correct?
No, I'm at home, Martin John. Merry Christmas Eve, my dear.
Merry Christmas Eve. You're at home. I thought you were traveling.
No, well, I'm going to go to my brother's, but he doesn't live far. And then tomorrow, the day after Christmas, I'll be traveling, but it's only a couple hours in southern Maryland, so I won't be traveling far. Right, because you're going to your
brother's and then you're going to Shane's parents.
Yeah, his sister's place. But, I really needed to hear what you were saying because, as you know, fear and anxiety and checklists are where I live. So I really needed to hear what you had to say about being still.
Yeah, it's important to be still. And, there's still a lot getting processed in your experience.
Yeah. And what you were saying is so true. And I'm glad, it finally got through my thick skull that life is easy. And I was the one that was making it hard.
We all do. And we try and, cause I have friends of mine that I'm like, life is easy. I say life is easy and they laugh and they shake their head, they chuckle and they shake their head. And when I'm around them, like, as a caveat, I'm always like, okay, life is easy. And then I take a pause and I said, for me, just so they don't have to, like, have the experience of like, life is easy, but not for me.
So they don't have to accept reality.
Well, right. But, like it's their business. And, just like I always say, I can surrender to the fact that they do that, but I don't have to submit to it, and in submitting to like their thing, it's just like I can let them have their way, and they can, I can surrender to the fact that they know that it's like I don't want to hurt them. I don't want what I think to infringe upon their ability to have difficult lives.
Well, I'm just very thankful that my frame of reference has shifted and that my life doesn't have to be difficult anymore and it can just be, because it's a beautiful thing.
It's so
when
nice.
You just let life
is
be.
So good.
And so I have a wonderful day ahead of me. My mom is here and we're going to go to, Christmas Eve at my church, and then she asked me for old time's sake to go to midnight mass with her. So, I'm going to do that and just, be open to how the day unfolds and not going in with a checklist and not going in with expectations and just being still, like you said, and letting it unfold because today is a perfect day for that, to let things unfold and see what gifts life has in store for me, how the universe is going to help me through my day. Because when I let it, it always does.
It does. It takes a long time and a lot of observation to just be able to, wait, this is fine. This is all good. Like how, but, like your mom, she didn't know that. And so when you grew up, it wasn't emulated for you.
No, it definitely wasn't.
And you had to find it. And you had to find the things and you bracketed it. It was like, this is safe, this is not, da, da, da. But it was like, actually, it's all good. It's all safe. You're here. And I know there are moments that don't feel safe. And you have to respond to those, absolutely. But you are being held.
And I'm very thankful for being held. And I'm very thankful for you. And I just wanted to come up and tell you how thankful I am and to wish you a Merry Christmas Eve and just to let you know that I'm going to take your advice today. And I'm going to try so hard to just let my day unfold and not have any expectations and just appreciate the beauty that's around me.
Yeah, it's so much. It's so much. You have so much around you. and just observing it, and I know, like, and this isn't anything to, like, you say, like, you're going to try hard to have a good day. And really, it's just observe your day. Just observe it. Just take a step back. And because, like, in the space that you're at now, and I'm going to take a leap and say that I can express what you're feeling. Life isn't like as it was a number of months ago. Life isn't like you're not wrapped up in the manifestation in the same way. You're able to observe the manifestation almost unfold for you more than before. It was like you were in it and it was you doing, and it was it was it acting upon you in one way or another. Right. Now it's like it's doing a thing, and you're kind of able just to watch it. Now, of course,
right? Like you said, like it's far out. Whatever happens, okay, far out. That's cool.
And we get caught up in it still. Of course, we get caught up in the body, and we get caught up in like, oh, I'm living this life, and oh, this is bad. But then, if we can just take a step back, it's like, oh wait, far out. That's just happening. Yeah. And it's not happening to me. It's just
happening near me.
Yeah, it's happening, and it's happening within. And what is the experience I'm having? Because this isn't the same experience my mom is having. My mom asked me to go to midnight mass. How touching.
Right.
Like she knows where I stand. And yet she wants to share this with me. Like, wow. Like that's bigger than choosing, like, my belief is this, and we are at odds. It's like, it's all stupid.
Exactly. And if going to midnight mass is, something, and then I know because my grandfather was the one that raised us to be Catholic. And so I know that that's like a big frame of reference for her. And if that brings her joy, why not stand alongside her and enjoy it with her, And
you have no idea the joy that it's going to bring you.
Got me in my feels, Martin John.
Like when you go there, and like, yes, there is sentimentality and there is nostalgia and there's all that. So be wary of all of those things, because those things can misrepresent.
Yep.
But
we can be thankful for the nostalgia and thankful for the sentiments that we did have, instead of it being something that you're missing.
To it. Right. So you can surrender to it without submitting to it. You don't have to go running off going, I was wrong, whatever, like it's not that, but it's like, enjoy your surroundings, because, like, I don't know where you're going, but like architecturally, Catholic churches
are beautiful.
Are beautiful.
Yes, they are.
And they are built to sound a certain way, and they're built to smell, right? Like the incense they use.
Oh yeah, I can smell the incense in the air. It's very strong. You're right.
And then the perfume, and then the feelings of the people that surround you. Like, this isn't about one belief or another. It's about a connection. And like, I'm going to go back to the pagan sort of concept of like Rauhnacht and the rough nights and time without time. And like right now we're coming together because there's new hope. The days are getting longer, and yet we're going into the darkest part of the year. And that's why we come together. That's why we've come together for millennia. It's not because of Jesus. We've come together.
He was born in like August or something, right?
This is, like, we just, like, we've been doing this for millennia, and we've been doing it in the Northern Hemisphere And we brought it everywhere else because this is the darkest time of year. And there's hope because because we can recognize that the days are getting longer. And that's it. And then that's what we're coming together for. We're coming together because this is going to be a hard year. It's always this is the hardest part of the year.
But I love what you just said and about hope because, hope, joy, peace, and love, even though, like you said, this time of year with the coldness and the dark, but the things that we want to carry us through the year are the things, I'm going to reframe that. The things I want to carry me through this year are the hope, the peace, the joy, and the love.
Right. And you can have love for people you don't share beliefs with.
Absolutely. Sometimes I might want to love them from afar.
Well, but that love is going to get you through the darkness.
Absolutely.
And it's not about loving them, you're not going to have to go, you're not going to have to spend a one-on-one time with everybody at midnight mass just to show that you care about the community. That's not what it is. But it is no, you hold in your heart that space of just oh no, this, I wish you well during this time.
Absolutely. And I do.
Yeah.
I wish everybody well, Yeah. I think that about me. I have a very big heart and there's lots of love inside. And I do have well wishes for everybody, I absolutely do. And that's one of the things that I've been blessed is I do have a heart that has a lot of love in it. And if I could give the whole world just a nice big hug, Martin John, I would do it. I would.
And you start by hugging yourself.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for helping me learn about the importance of doing that.
Yeah, because there is nobody that you are not. And so hugging yourself and loving yourself as much as you can hug others and as you can love others and as you pride yourself to love others, that has to be turned back onto yourself.
You're absolutely correct. And I still may not be completely there, but I've been a lot better than I was. And so I just thank you again for helping me learn that lesson, my dear.
Yeah, I love you.
I love you too. And I wish you a very Merry Christmas, my friend.
Yeah. And send my best to your mom.
I definitely will.
Okay. We'll catch up on the other side of Christmas Eve. Okay. I'm going to continue reading 63. If anybody wants to come up and pick a number, I'd be happy to. Usually I would force Melissa to pick a number, but I still haven't been through 63. And I do think 63 was resonating with her. And so I'm going to continue reading it. Be still and you will act without doing. Be still and your work will happen regularly. As an artist, this idea of work is interesting because my work is just what I do, Then a couple of years ago, I acquired a home and there's a lot of work needs to be done in the home. And so I'm and I work with a yoga studio. They need help with their email. I work with the university at the theater. They need help with their front of house stuff. I work with another artist and he needs help with a mosaic, and my work comes. This is my work. My work with my Tao, the book. My work with clients. My work with and it will happen regularly, which means I don't necessarily have to go out and look for it, as long as I'm working from my heart, from a place of this is what I do. And this is living. Really, that's all I'm doing is living. I do a little sketching here and there. I get excited about spreadsheets every now and again. I do some home repair stuff. It's just my work just happens regularly. And that's good. That's nice. I don't have to go out trying to find it. It finds me. There are times where there's lulls. And then I'm like, oh, what am I doing? And then I sit still. And then I start to act without doing. And eventually, something comes. Be still and your senses will engage the subtle. When you're constantly doing, when you're constantly active, when you're constantly exciting your senses, it's hard to see the subtle. It's hard to know what's going on in your body. When you're constantly eating, it's hard to know what foods make you feel what way, which is why they do that whole, like, let's stop eating some things and then you can see what happens. It's a good thing. And that's, when you can be still, and that's what you do with your diet, when you kind of do this reductive diet, just trying to find out what the hell's going on with your body, you're still, you're like, all right, well, there's only one thing happening. So then once that one thing is the only thing happening, I can be aware of the subtlety that adding something else in. So if I don't eat any dairy and I don't eat any sugar and I don't eat any fruit and and I'm only eating vegetables and whatever, like broth, let's say, for a week, that's not going to be enough calories, but whatever. We're gonna. I don't know what these diets look like, but I'm just saying, if you reduce your diet to a single thing or a single couple things, and then you start adding in things, as you add things in, you can become aware of the subtle changes that happen within your digestive situation or your stomach pain or whatever. Like you can start being aware of the subtle. So be still, and your senses will engage the subtle. Similarly, engage a stranger as the multitude. So we're talking about being still. Be still and you will act without doing. Be still and your work will happen regularly. Be still and your senses will engage the subtle. And now all of a sudden we say, similarly engage a stranger as the multitude. So how does this all relate? It is about being your best self, right? If you have a crowd of 1,000 people around you and they're watching you, and you're acting one way, this is akin to do everything professionally, even if it's for one person. Be your best self. I've told this story before. I knew a guy who lost the use of his legs. He was a real proud man, and he had an enormous upper body, and he used crutches to walk, quote unquote walk. He would be able to balance on top of his legs when he kind of propped him up underneath him, but he wouldn't really be able to, he couldn't maneuver them. He was going to work, and a young man entered before him and didn't hold the door, actually kind of opened the door very, very slightly so he can just get in, so he wouldn't open the door for my buddy Azim. Well, this isn't a problem for Azim because, this happens. People aren't always nice. And it's not, he's free to not open the door for me. He knows. And Azim is like, all right, well, I'm going to just open the door for myself. Turns out that the kid that didn't open the door for him was in about 40 minutes from the time that happened, or 30 minutes from the time that happened, was going to be interviewing with Azim for a job. So Azim walked by him in his office, in Azim's office. Right? He's in the thing, like, goes into his office, sits down in his office, and eventually comes in. It's just like, so, he's like, oh, I didn't know that was you. And Azim's like, you don't have to know it's me to treat people with respect. And that's what this engage a stranger as the multitude is. Because Azim was going to be the multitude, because that's, if it's only one person, maybe you can be a dick to that person. It's only one person, so what? I'm just going to be, if it's a homeless person, I'm going to tell him to, fuck off. I'm going to spit in his face. I'm going to do whatever I want. But when it's the multitude, right? This is how people do all that sort of signaling on social media and stuff, where they're just like, I'm going to bring all this food to this person. But you can't do it without anyone seeing, because if nobody sees it, did you do it? So all these people are running around like giving food to people and giving money to homeless people and all of this kind of stuff on social media. But are they doing it behind closed doors? Are they doing it when it really matters? Or are they doing it to get something out of it? Once again, your senses aren't engaging the subtle then. It's just all conspicuous. It's conspicuous stuff. It's like, I want everybody to know what I've done. Well, if you want everyone to know what you've done, did you really do it? Are you doing it for some sort of outcome? You quietly go about your business. I remember one time I was talking to someone about my book and this show and some other things. And, although, yes, I can see there's 122 people listening right now, or not really, it has been through the room and stuff, but I don't really, I publish some of these episodes as podcasts, but I don't look at the numbers. I'm not interested in how many people listen. I'm interested in, at the end of my show, do I want to do a little extra work and put this out there? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Cool Beans, how you doing, man?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm very well.
It's a rather warm morning here. I think we're about 28 degrees and stunningly starry skies. It's beautiful.
Wonderful. Yeah, the sky's out there really clear, yeah.
Very yes. Yeah. Especially at 7,000 feet.
Oh, fuck off, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm also about 10 miles outside of town. So, and we have a pretty dark sky neighborhood, and just a stunning morning.
Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
And so, like I was saying to Melissa, the days are getting longer. Like, greet that sun. I pulled the other day. I pulled all my, not all, but I pulled a couple crystals out and put them in the solstice sun, and I was like, this would be a nice cleansing thing for them. It's like
right on. And if you ever get a chance, you take your water for the day and you put it out under the full moon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Get some moon water going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful things that you can share time in, and just to absorb. This time of year we can have like a 40-degree temperature exchange. So, the other morning it was
just
16
between a couple hours, right?
Yeah, and it'll warm up to 50-odd degrees during the day.
Wow.
So pretty amazing. So my car is testing my patience. The vacuum hose that makes the flapper go from like inside to outside air has got a crack in it. So the flapper is going doke, doke, doke.
Oh, I can hear it. That's the flapper for it.
Yeah, it's my car acting up. So
quite all right.
Yeah, it's one of those like, well, okay, I guess you need a little maintenance. You need a little, touching and feeling and healing. We'll get to it this weekend.
That's what it's funny. Like that's the, when I was reading number 63, that like, be still and your work will happen regularly. Here you go.
Oh, yeah.
You've just picked up a little more work.
I think I'm too still then because I have more than enough work. I'm kind of looking for the opposite. I'm kind of like, work can slow down a little bit.
Yeah. In time. When you're ready, it will slow.
Right. This morning, I'm feeling number 70.
70. Yeah. Wonderful. 70 is These Teachings. It's titled These Teachings. I like this one. I'm just going to go ahead and read it and then we'll chat. And if there's any word or phrase that stands out to you like strongly, like just has more energy, that's what we'll start addressing, and then we can go through it line by line or whatnot. So these teachings are simple and transform lives. Yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things. Anything stand out to you?
Yeah. In their heart shines a light for all things.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know, it's beautiful. Like, I like this ending because it's like when you are not chasing something, you can very much seem dull because nothing's really important to you. Like, you're just going about your business, doing your thing. There's no goal or expectation. You're not trying to get something. It's not, you can't tell the story about it because most of it is incoherent. It's just like, well, I was doing this and then this happened and then I did this and then this happened and I'm just living my life. And it's not necessarily a great story until it's over. You know, like my path to finding my grandfather in Spain, because I didn't know him, was great at the end. When it was all said and done, it was great. But in the doing of it, it was all confusion, or seemingly so. And then it says, in the manifestation, they seem dull and disinterested. It's like, oh, I don't have a, you know, like this happens to me a lot. I was like, I don't know. I'm just doing what I do. And then, but in their heart shines a light for all things. It's like, I don't have to be interesting to be promoting the greatness of beings.
There was another one in there that you mentioned. Was it disillusion?
A different verse or in this verse?
One of the earlier verses, I think.
Oh yeah, the dissolution of Tao. It talks about some of these sorts of things. I believe. I'm going to take a note. Dissolution.
Yeah, of Tao. Yeah, no, there was another piece in there that you read, like, you know, it's kind of interesting because most adventures, when you set out on adventure, nothing's happened yet.
Right.
And it is dull.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it
can be exciting at the beginning, you know, like when you when those first steps, you know, like, but
yeah, when you're first getting moving and stuff, and
right,
you know, every survival story, you know, most of them don't start off at the point of action. It starts off in the beginning. Right. You know, there's 5 stages of recreation. One is planning, the travel to, the recreation, travel from, and recollection. And most places that I've gone and I've done really cool things in my life were never successful. Something happened. We weren't able to finish it. There was, you know, something blew up. Somebody got hurt. You know, the storm came in. And those stories are the ones that we have a tendency to remember. Whereas sometimes, you know, just sitting out there on the water and just enjoying the beauty of life is, you know, just absolutely.
It was that stillness. It was that stillness that led you to the thing, you know, and that's the thing. Like, you're being guided. And when you can understand that you're being guided and enter those tumultuous times, understanding that you're being held, you could be labeled as coarse and uncaring. You could be labeled as disinterested. You could be labeled as like, why aren't they engaging? This is trauma. And you're like, trauma or no, I'm being guided. I'm being held through this. This is, go on.
With those parts about being guided, do you feel in your research and history of things that you've done that the things that are falling apart that you struggle so hard to hold together, are the tests that you need to let go of.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, but once you learn that lesson, the next time you face it, you're not going to take the course
Not,
again. You know what I mean?
there you go.
You're going to be, it's going to appear from the outside as if you're disinterested. It's going to appear from the outside that you are not getting caught up in this the way I am. Why aren't you upset? You don't care. It's like, no, it's not that I don't care. I've learned this lesson and I know I'm being held. And so I don't have to get caught up in the story that this is a traumatic thing.
Yeah, I'm going to hold on to this one for the day.
Yeah, it's
like
a good
that.
one. You know, and
Yeah, it most certainly is. And I like the piece about sitting in the word will come. Ah,
yeah, oh yeah.
and I
Yeah,
don't sit much.
I can send you that too. I'll be able to do
Oh,
it
my
quicker
goodness.
today because I got
No problems. I've been sharing these with somebody who's not going to be on in the morning. You know,
Oh, okay, wonderful.
she sleeps in and sleeps in. She's not up at 3:00 like I am. You know,
Yeah,
drinking tea.
right.
You
I mean,
know,
I'm up at between 3 and 4:30 usually every day, and
yeah.
so
And,
I love this time.
I just had a crazy thought. I got to turn around and go home. I was doing hot yoga this morning in my house, and I don't remember whether or not I closed my wood stove.
Oh, yeah, you got to get to take care of that.
Yeah, right. I don't need that stuff popping out. I'm pretty sure I did, but you know what?
That's a rolling of the dice that you don't have to take. And
No.
if that is going to affect your workout and make it difficult for you to, do whatever it is you're going to do. I mean, my guess is you're going to the gym. But
You know what's really crazy about that is I live really well in the thought of traffic is horrible today. Or I had to run back home before I left town. I was 10 minutes away, and leaving town was a 10-minute drive home, then 10 minutes again. You know what? Those are the moments that may have prevented your tragedies.
right,
You know,
absolutely.
that slow traffic, being caught in that slow traffic, and there you are. And then 2 minutes later, you get up the road and there's an accident there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You're going home, and it's crazy how those things can, the blessings in disguise or whatnot. So I
You're
usually
being
don't
held.
get too, I usually don't get too upset about anything along these lines.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like that's the light for all things. Yet in your heart shines a light for all things. And what that means is like you shine a light for this moment, even if that moment means you have to go home and check the stove. Burr, burr, burr. Even if that means you have to go back to the store and get get the dozen eggs that you forgot. That light is there for every situation because you don't know what that's going to do and and you don't know what it's doing and why this happened, but it happened. And it's not because and this is what we tell ourselves often. It's because we were wrong. We forgot, because that's the influence that we lived under for so long, is that it was our fault.
Yeah, that there is fault.
That there is fault at all. Absolutely. That there is fault at all. Like, no, this person did what they did. And that's it. And I don't have to place blame. I don't have to place fault. We can just, okay, that happened. And this is my way of, responding to that in whatever way.
I had an interesting experience a couple of weeks ago outside the coffee shop, and I'm coming out. I go to the gym. Coffee shop opens at 6:30. As I'm going in, there's obviously somebody that homeless, alcohol issues, things along those lines, and she's out front, and she states boldly that she's not asking for money, but if there's any food that she would love to have something to eat. So while I'm ordering my coffee inside, they sell their day-old items half price, and they have magnificent quiche.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
I bought her a
nice.
piece of quiche, and I, heated it up really well, and I bring it out to her. And I mean, this is giant 3-inch thick, you know, grandmother's, homemade recipe from wherever.
Oh,
It's
nice.
magnificent. And this lady looks at me, she goes, well, what the hell is that? And I go, it's quiche. And she looks at me, and she gives me this oddest look, and she takes her finger and she goes to touch it, and it's like, it's egg pie. Well, what's in it? Well, broccoli and onions and cheese. She's like, am I going to like this? I'm like, this is going to be the best thing to get you through your day after
Yeah.
your long night. This is
Right.
pure protein. It's going to go to every muscle in your body.
Yeah.
And she sat there, and I handed it to her, and I walked right one side to do my bit. And she sat out there for 5 minutes staring at it.
Yep.
And then it couldn't have been a minute later, the entire thing was gone. Every crumb on the plate was gone and left nicely on the table. And it was just like,
Good.
just the funniest conversation with this lady with her accent. What is it?
One time, I'm a fan. Like I don't get a lot of packaged items and stuff when I go. And I had picked up some Colombian style chicharron, which is like inch thick, fried, pork belly.
Uh-huh.
And it's probably like 4 inches long, inch thick, inch square kind of thing. Like it's a big piece of fat and protein. And you're going to drop off. If you wanted to come back, I'll finish the story. If you want to come back, you're welcome to, but I know you got stuff to do. So, and I offered it to a homeless man that was kind of walking on the street and like begging. And he looked at it and was just like, I don't want that. And I was like, okay. And then I just drove off because I was just like, okay, well, like like I'm giving you something that is going to like really aid in your situation because one, its caloric content is through the roof. 2, it's got fat and protein, which you're going to need. And there's no, like, I'm not going to convince you to take it. Especially in the situation that we were in, because he was walking in the middle of the street, and it was like, I was at a stoplight, but it was just like, oh, here, like, I'll offer you one of these, and I mean, it was just like, man, I don't want that. I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, whatever.
Well, yeah, sorry, buddy. Okay, that's all you want to get.
It's like it's literally like it's literally like an inch thick piece of bacon with a rind of pork rind on the back. It's like fried pork, fried skin, and then the fat, and then the meat, and it's like this. It's fucking amazing. But he didn't want it, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm not letting this go to waste. I'll take it.
That's right. I've got to keep it. In Flagstaff, we have a decent sized community of travelers and homeless people and stuff like that. And I've watched so many people park their car behind the gas station, in a rather, nicer vehicle, get out, rub some dirt on themselves, open the hood, put a little grease from the motor on their face, and go stand out there on the road with the gas can and beg for money. And it's like, you didn't get enough for 5 gallons of gas in a month,
Right,
And one of my buddies who's, he's just traveling rock climber way back in the day. He's like, dude, I don't know why you're working. I can sit out here and panhandle and make more money than you in an hour, than what you're going to make all night. And it's like, yeah, it's just not me, dude. Just not my style. There's a lie in there somewhere. That's just not me.
And that's the whole thing. Like, no matter what, I mean, this guy that asked me ultimately, I saw, there was one day that I saw him and a huge, probably like a 6-inch by 8-inch flap of skin was hanging off of his leg.
Oh, God.
He ended up losing one, if not both of his legs in the time. So I lived in this area and I drove past his corner, ultimately for years. And I just watched him.
Disease, man.
Well, he had gangrene is my guess. And I just watched him deteriorate, And I would talk to, I had a couple conversations over the years with neighbors of mine. I was like, oh, did you see? And like, yeah, I saw him like and like this and that. And I was like, I haven't seen him in a while. My guess, one day I was like, oh, I haven't seen him in about 4 days. My guess is he's getting his legs removed. And he came back and he only had one leg. And I was like, yep, there it is. Cause he's near the hospital, like, and he's homeless and like, it's sad, but this is why, like in this number 70, it says, meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring, because it's okay.
That was the line I was looking for earlier.
Oh yeah. Because I could be labeled as uncaring to be like, hey, this guy lost his leg, but that is the path that he's on, and it's okay for that to happen. I'm not, I'm not trying to tell him that he shouldn't lose his leg.
Yeah.
That's a wrong thing. No, it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he lost his leg, because he's not going to lose more.
Yeah. Well, you never know, man. You never know.
I'm sure. I mean, he's gonna lose more. It's just a matter of time.
I've watched this in town where there's the one guy, and he's missing a foot, and then he's missing the leg to the knee, and then he's missing the other foot. And
right.
I've seen a lot of those things out there, and it's in all honesty, your life is yours to live the way you want. Right. And no matter how much you would like to help somebody change and alter their lives, it is up to them to take those steps. And whether that's in a relationship, whether it's in living, it's, we can talk all day long, but until you take action, there's nothing that my caring and empathy can do for you.
Right.
So that was the line, the course.
Yeah. Course and uncaring. Yeah. And the line before that, what this is referencing, is very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things.
Yeah, that can be broken down multiple times, I think. I think I could do this one like 5 times.
Yeah.
So
it's a beautiful
in
verse.
The bits and pieces. It is. It really is. And, I think that, it just brings so many different images into my mind and so many different things that I touch base with. So is anybody else coming into the queue?
No. It's you and me. It's Christmas Eve. People are sleeping in. People are, people don't want to get too, it's just like there's Christmas cookies out. There's all sorts of things. It's like, but no, I also like the fact that this kind of addresses itself. It just says these teachings are doing a thing, and it says like, and this is one of the things that I want to talk, that I always want to like address. Is like, no matter how many times you go through the Tao, how many times you go through this text, there's always more to glean. There's always more to perceive. You can always think of it broader, and the broader you think of it, the more you and that's what it says. These pages will guide them to themselves. You get to be who you are. Oh, I do have someone in the queue. So,
a quick question that if you get time, you can answer whenever on your own. Mm-hmm. What is the origination of Tao Te Ching?
It was written in the 6th century BC by a guy Lao Tzu in China.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, pretty cool. Okay. Take on someone else. I'll go ahead and leave. Thanks for the morning.
Absolutely. Love you, man. Thank you so much for coming up. Send my best to Kristen, and you have a great workout this morning. Julie, how are you, my love?
I'm all right.
Oh, well, look at you.
I'm all good.
Happy Christmas Eve.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I've spent a bit of time this morning, and yesterday as well, just kind of getting hold of people and talking to
and
people. And
shaking them?
No, just absolutely pouring in a lot of thought towards them. Regard, if you like, knowing that telling them that I know their existence and I appreciate it. That's what I've been doing. So it's been really nice. I've enjoyed doing that too.
I don't know if I've mentioned this on here, but for the last couple of days, I've been spending an hour just holding people 5 minutes at a time. I got this, insight timer. I have it set to go an hour, and every 5 minutes it does a little click. And for each click, like, I just sort of hold people. Like, so I think about their names. I think about the experiences I've had with them. I think about where they're living. I think about all the things. And I just hold them in my heart. Like, that's a
synchronicity, isn't it? Cause
and I've been doing it for the last couple days. And really it's an exercise in stop wasting your time. Like, I get frustrated at, like, myself doing things like, I'm just going to, like, put this show on, or I'm just going to do this thing. And I just kind of, like, dismiss my time. And I'm just like, oh, well, you know what? Why don't I be still, right? Like, all of these kind of ideas that Thou has. And like, I'll do it with purpose so that I'm not just doing nothing. I'll do it with a purpose. And so, like, the purpose was, I'm just going to, write 12 names down. And I might be in there as well.
Well, why not?
I'll just offer some love. I'll just offer some thoughts and think about them. And if my mind wanders after 5 minutes, the wood clicks, and then I go, okay, we'll go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
interesting. Yeah. I've like really enjoyed the experience of this. It's very loving. And with the lovingness of it, I'm kind of giving myself love at the same time, because I'm understanding how blessed I am.
Right.
With all things, with everything that has ever occurred to me, all of the people that I've ever known, no matter how they've arrived, how they've given me an experience, it's just really nice to appreciate it. So I've been doing that. And filling myself up with lots of love. So I've been listening to you and Joe and really enjoying. And I've
Joe, is that Cool Beans?
Yeah.
I didn't know his name. Okay.
Sorry, Joe. But yeah, I've just got this lovely book in my hand, and it's
beautiful.
Got a lovely.
It's such a good book.
It's a great book. It's got a lovely signature in it and a little kind of message in the front, which is lovely. So I'm looking at that, and I've been flicking through it as you've been talking, and I've come up with number 22.
22. Looking away from what you want. As we're coming up on Christmas, I think, like, people have a lot of want on Christmas,
Yeah.
They look for the new year, of course, but they also like especially younger people. There's so much desire, so much want, and so much, and even in adults, there's like want to be recognized. And I think that's the, like, I want you to recognize the work that I've done. I want you to recognize the value that I bring. I want you to recognize, like, I want you to recognize, or at least, surrender to the fact that I have freedom, and don't ask me to do I want my time. I want to be able to relax. I want the work I do is like, and that's the thing. You're off work right now. So many people, not everybody, but so many people are not working right now. And the work that they do is a chore. They don't really like their work, but they're doing it because they, quote unquote, have to. I remember when you were leaving the nursing work that you did before, and everyone was so concerned about you and what you were doing, because they couldn't imagine being out of the work that didn't fill them. They couldn't imagine leaving that work because it was so scary for them outside of security.
The void seems scary.
Yeah.
It can appear that way.
It absolutely can. So this reads, to become complete, know that you're partial. To become straight, know that you're crooked. To become full, know that you're empty. To be new, know that you're worn out. He who wants it all must know what all includes. Thus, the master stays centered in Tao and becomes an example for the world. Because she knows her light is forfeit, people can see it. Because she has no point to prove, people can trust her words. Because she has no identity, she becomes a mirror for others. Because she has nothing to attain, nothing can be kept from her. Thus, when it is said to become complete, know that you're partial, it is wise to heed and surrender to it. Only by living in collaboration with Tao can one find completion. When I read that first line, to become complete, know that you're partial, that stands out so strong in my knowledge of Tao. So if you think that it's you separate yourself from everything else. Mm. It's you doing. It's you acting out. It's you imparting your wisdom on the world. It's you imparting your actions on the world. But if you want to be complete, you have to know that you're part of the whole. You are partial. Mm. You're a part of all of this. You aren't all of this. Your experiences are yours. But if you want to be complete, you have to know that you're connected to everything else. And that's really what this says at the end, only by living in collaboration with Tao. Living in collaboration with Tao. What is Tao? I am Tao, you are Tao, the grass is Tao, the trees are Tao, the sun is Tao. It's all Tao. Live in collaboration with your surroundings. Live in collaboration with all that you are.
Mm. Do you know what I really like about the word partial?
When I think of, no, I'm just teasing.
Partial means, if as we use it in England, I suppose we say we're partial to something when we like a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that kind of idea.
That's interesting.
Well. Yes. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
To become complete, know that you're partial. Know that you have a preference.
That's right. Yes.
And that's interesting. So to become complete, know that you have a preference. And that preference isn't all there is.
That's right. Yeah.
So once you can recognize that you're partial to something, but that doesn't mean that everybody else is going to be.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's how you can become complete. It's so beautiful way of looking at it. Wow.
That's all right.
That's so awesome. To become complete, know that you're partial, know that you have a preference.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what it spoke to me, was that. Yes, Julie, you are part of the whole. And you are partial to things all of the time. You have a preference to be free. You have a preference not to turn up to the 9 to 5. You have a preference to kind of being abundant. You have a preference for being warm and safe. You have a preference to show your integrity. You have a preference. All of these things are preferences. But to be whole, I need to understand every aspect of myself, including the things that I am not partial to.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yes, yes, yes. And when she mirrors, by, I think she becomes a mirror for others because she has no identity. That for me is accepting my partialities and knowing there are other ideas, options, and everything else. There is absolutely everything else, not just my partiality. That's when I start to kind of, in my idea, when I'm showing my partialities, I am a mirror, and I'm a mirror for the complete. I'm a mirror for myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
See,
and that's not your identity, because your identity is your partiality.
That's right. Yeah.
But when you can release your partiality, because in order to become complete, know that you're partial, and you don't have to, like, that's your manifestation. That's how you experience the world. However, if you want to become complete, you have to be aware of the whole, not just the partial, not just that which you are partial to.
Yes. Be aware of the whole and the fact that you need the whole. The whole is what your experience is going to be because you're part of it.
Right.
So it's lovely. It's a lovely verse. I'm really, really glad I picked it because there's a message in there for me.
Yeah.
And the message is really, I'm held.
When is your time done at this space?
We've got Boxing Day we leave. So that's the day after Christmas. We'll be packing away. Which is hilarious. But not because we've received so much, but also because we've received so much. So funny. Yeah. But Boxing Day we set off then down to the Dorset coast. So I'll be down by the sea again, which I am partial to. But because I'm partial to the sea, I now get to experience being away from the sea. And this is pleasant too. This has its own kind of beautiful garden. And it's in a little village. And in the village is many, many other villages around it. And it's just a beautiful space.
You're getting to know this. You're getting to know your country so well.
Yes, and I'm
so
really,
beautiful.
really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
I'm just going with the flow.
Absolutely. And so when does your next sit start?
It starts on Boxing Day.
Oh, life is easy.
Life is easy, yes.
How long's the drive?
The drive is 6 hours, so I'm going to set off from here. And that's me taking my time because I'm partial to that, you see.
Of course.
So I'm going to set off here probably about 10:30, and then I will arrive around 6 o'clock.
And do you know these folks? Have you?
I've spoken to them. I always do like video call and telephone calls and interactions with them way before the sit, during the sit, and after the sit as well.
Oh, that's so nice! Look at you! Yeah. Like you're just tying this whole thing together.
It's lovely. It's a really enjoyable experience. Man. So anyway, I get to Dorset and put the ducks to bed.
Oh, you're going to be sitting on ducks?
Yeah, 2 ducks. 2 ducks, 3 cats, and a fish tank.
Wow. So really how fun is that?
I know, it's good, isn't it? It's great. Get to know all these people. I'll tell you what, though, while I've been here, I've really connected with these 2 cats as well. They are very beautiful. There is no cat that is the same. They are all so bespoke.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, so it's taken me some adjustments, Martin.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah. I have kind of explained that, I think.
Yeah. But, and I like that, it's not just cats and dogs. They got ducks now.
Yeah, ducks.
That's going to be so fun.
We've done chickens before.
Wow.
I'm hoping to do chickens again because I do like chickens. They're really good.
My mom is a big chicken fan.
Yeah, I'm a big chicken fan as well. So, I'm looking forward to all of that. And I will know my partiality because that will help me to understand the completeness of everything.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Much
Absolutely.
love.
Much love to you.
Have a
Send
wonderful
my best
time.
to Brad.
Will do. Much love. Bye.
Bye-bye. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to connect with you all. Even for those that don't come up and speak, this is an energetic exchange that I really appreciate. There's probably something that I can say about Christmas Eve and this time. This is a time of stillness. Over the next couple of days, you may feel time is standing still. You may have trouble sleeping. You may want to escape. Find stillness. I'm going to just read through Problems Are No Problem, number 63, that I started talking about. I can't believe that we've already spoken for the last hour and 15 minutes. It just seems like it's been 45 minutes maybe at the most. But what it says is, be still and you will act without doing. Be still and your work will happen regularly. Be still and your senses will engage the subtle. Similarly, engage a stranger as the multitude. See the majesty of a mountain in a grain of sand. The master knows greatness cannot be grasped. Remaining still, she allows greatness to flow through her. With no desire to achieve it, her stillness guides her. It's with no desire to achieve greatness. You know, it does say with no desire to achieve it, and it is referencing the greatness. Her stillness guides her, making subtle movement. The difficult becomes easy. What's difficult to becoming great. And what is greatness, or what is it's in everything that you do. She knows that all of life is not without its problems. So problems turn out to be no problem at all. If you recognize that, if you can recognize that, oh yeah, things are going to come up, like, oh, the flap on my vent is making noise. It's like, oh, okay, well, that could be a way for you to, that could be an invitation for you to, feel sorry for yourself, or feel bad, or feel aggrieved. Or you can just say, oh, it's something I got to do. Okay, focus on it. And like, if you are still, like there will be a point where you're going to just sit still and you'll be like, oh yeah, I got to do that. And then you get up and do it with no resistance. Life is easy. I hope you all get an opportunity to take a breath today. I hope you all get an opportunity to take a little bit of time for yourself. This is a time of hope. It's a time where the sun is going to be out longer. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, enjoy your summer, my friends. Enjoy your summer. For those of you in the Northern, I hope you're not surrounded by snow. And if you are, I hope it can stay outside. And you are housed and warm. I love you. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.